How is it hanging, YouTube? It's Peter here, your Ginger Jody Geek, and welcome back to another Spotlight where we're going to be looking at Spider-Man. And I'm joined, as ever, my two good friends from YouTube. We've got James C. Keegan and Ben, the attention-seeking geek. How are you doing, chaps?
Whip, motherfucker.
Whip, motherfucker. Yeah, nice. Oh, we're both well. Are you ready to talk?
Oh, good man.
Yeah. Spider-Man fans?
Nah.
No?
It's all right. It's all right.
He's all right.
Well, you even need 2 hours.
I knew yous would be full of enthusiasm, so I have brought probably the biggest spider geek that I think we all know, Mister. And I'm sure. Let's be honest. We should probably try and do some kind of a drinking game for the amount of times he tells you, "Hey, I've nearly got a full collection," during the course of this show. Do you not think? So let's bring on Luke from Hydra Collectibles. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm doing very well. Maybe I'll burn the collection once I complete it. Maybe that, how many views do you reckon that will get?
Yeah, that would be good viewing for YouTube, wouldn't it? Yeah, setting fire to a Spider-Man collection. How are you anyway? Are you well?
I'm very good, thank you. Very excited to be on tonight.
Good. You know a little thing or two about Spider-Man, don't you?
1 or 2 things. You know, I don't like to brag.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, and we're also joined by another good friend of ours who's reinvigorated himself on YouTube recently. It's lovely to see him back, and that is good old Pete GP Venom. How are you doing, mate?
All good.
Good
Ready
stuff.
to get
Good
going.
stuff. And you're a Spider-Man fan, yeah?
I am.
Good.
Just a little
Excellent. Now, we would normally be joined by Efren, but Efren is away in Hawaii, sunning himself on the beaches. Swine. He's been sending the images. Yeah, it just looks stunning. So very jealous of that.
Is it worth going to the beach when you live somewhere as hot as he does?
I was going to say he's just gone from one sunny place to another sunny place.
Yeah, he wants a proper holiday. He wants to come over to England, doesn't he? That's probably
Newcastle.
Yeah, come to Newcastle and dip his toes in the Tyne. Christ, you come out with 7 toes in each foot. Okay, let's see who we've got in the chat, guys. As usual, we have got good old StreamYard. Thanks for joining. We've got Fuzzy, Dr. Fuzzalicious reporting for Joe.
Nice.
Interesting. Nice. We've got Andy from Perpetual Comics. Thanks for joining, Andy. We've got good old Ian. Hope you're well, mate. We've got this guy. Who else? And I think that's Whack for the time being. So we'll jump back into the chat in a bit. What's that saying? Only the police and Fuzzy call me Andrew. Yeah, I bet. Okay, guys, we've got lots to talk about tonight, so let's crack straight on. We're here to talk Spider-Man. As I said, we're going to cover his history and talk a little bit about his media appearances, a little look at some merchandise, the different things you can get which are Spider related, and we're going to round off by recommending a few recommended reads, things that we've been picking up recently, or storylines that we think are worth you going out and have a look at. At the very end of the show, we're going to do a quick recap of what everyone's got coming up on their channels, and I've got a bit of an announcement about next week's show, which I'm very, very excited about. So just before we crack on, ahoy Cap, nice to see you, mate. Thank you very much for joining. Please do go and check out Cap's new show, because I watched it the other day, which it's an incredible idea. Basically what he's getting people to do is put comics in their poly bags, in your bags, and then he'll give you a topic, and you've got to draw onto the comic bag and kind of alter the cover in some way. So it's great fun. So please do go and check that out. It was a good laugh. And so Cap, drop that. I can't remember the name of the show. Drop it in the comments if you're still here, mate, and people will hopefully come and watch it because it's good fun. Okay, so as we usually do, we're going to cover the history of Spider-Man first, and I thought who better to talk through that than good old Luke. So Luke, take it away.
Okay, so Spider-Man, a character that pretty much everyone who even remotely loves superheroes knows the origin of. It's been done so many times before. A young kid bitten by a radioactive spider, thus gaining the powers of said arachnid. Spider-Man is probably Marvel's golden boy, despite all the things that have gone on between their deals with Sony and then obviously Disney and the MCU and everything else, which is what most people would know Spider-Man from. He still remains one of Marvel's top characters. I think it's, if you were to ask your grandma to name some superheroes, I reckon she'd probably go for Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. So
yeah, he's absolutely one of the most recognizable superheroes, I think, isn't he? And the costume as well, I think that everybody immediately recognizes, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, not just the one costume, you know, the multiple costumes that he's had, I think a lot of them have been quite well recognized. So obviously he made his debut in Amazing Fantasy 15, which was actually the final issue of the series of that particular run, where Stan just basically decided to say, sod it, let's throw it out there and see what people think. And it was a huge success. This was actually the highest purchased copy of Amazing Fantasy to date. So yeah, it's just an amazing show, amazing series.
Yeah, and again, if Efren had been on, he would have showed with his copy of AF15.
I'll just get mine.
Yeah.
I've got several facsimile versions.
yeah. Stunning book, and I think probably for a lot of comic collectors, an absolute grail that I would imagine is well out of reach for most people. I don't think. Well, I know, Luke, you had the opportunity a while ago to sell all of your collection.
I chickened out. I had the offer to trade in my entire collection for an AF15, and I ummed and ahed about it for a really long time. And in the end, it was my dad who talked me out of it and told me that I should keep what I have, and that one day I will get this anyway.
Yeah.
And when you don't, you can blame him.
Yeah. I think his exact words were, "When I'm dead, use the money to buy one."
Yeah.
So
that cheerful conversation in the Hydra household there. What kind of price does an AF15 go for? These is like a bog standard, really low grade.
So do you know what? I think it's very easy to be convinced by eBay, and eBay really isn't the right place for this type of book, because when you actually look at heritage auctions or other auction houses, you do see them go for a lot cheaper than what they're listed for on eBay. So, I think that eBay's full of chances. We all know this. I reckon you could probably comfortably pick up one of these between 15 and 20 grand if you were after a lower grade copy, which is where I would be. For me, it is literally a case of ticking the box and saying, I have it, as opposed to going for the highest. Even if I won on the lottery ticket, I wouldn't spend the majority on this book. I would still buy the cheapest one.
Yeah, still a lot of money to have. Ben, you're a facsimile collector at times. Have you got an AF15 facsimile?
No, I sold my facsimiles, didn't I? Yeah.
Oh, did you? Yeah. Is this the one you had, or was this?
Yeah. I did have this one at one point. Yeah, it's great. It's it's the spark of a cultural phenomenon, in the very definition of that, I think. So, very important. But people don't realize it's like 4 or 5 pages of that book. It's a very, very short story. But yeah, iconic.
Andy's just asking there. I have no idea, Andy. Any idea of the print run on the F15? Not a clue, mate.
One thing that I will say is it's not as rare as people think, and I often cite this when I say, if you can type it into eBay and see 4 or 5 copies, it can't be that rare. If you were going to go for the rarest book out of those classic early Marvels, I would say go for Incredible Hulk 1 if you were doing it as an investment. Obviously, I am a collector of passion, and Spider-Man is my guy, so that would be the one that I'll be looking to pick up.
Yeah, very nice. And we've got Efren. Aloha, comic book familiar.
What is happening?
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Nice for you to join with Efren. Okay, moving on, Luke.
So, I've decided to put up the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 1. Me personally, I think this is one of the worst covers of a Spider-Man book. It's not one that I'm all too excited for, even though it's still a book that I need within my own personal collection. Interesting fact, back during the days of early Marvel and Atlas, this book actually took the place of Student Nurse. So any Student Nurse fans out there that no longer have their run of books, it's because Spider-Man took that spot.
Right.
Dang it.
Interesting.
And then on the other side there, I've just got Spider-Man Weekly. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of making sense of pence. I love my UK books, and I know Peter also enjoys collecting some UK Pence books. Again, this is one that I do not own, but one that I am always on the lookout for. They do come up sometimes relatively cheap, and it's just a nice, fun, ongoing series, albeit that it's in black and white.
I'm interested to know what everybody else thinks about that ASM #1 cover there, because I think it's cack. I'm trying to work out what he's even in. What is that, like is it a lift shaft or something, or what is it?
I think that's the idea, isn't it? That's what I always thought.
The problem is that it looks like he's outside of it as opposed to inside it, and his hands would be the wrong way if that was the case.
Yeah. What do you think of it, Ben?
It's got Fantastic Four on, so I'm out.
You're not a Fantastic Four fan?
I hate Fantastic Four, man.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
realise
I'm a
that.
Ben Grimm fan.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much for that, Luke. Really appreciate you doing that, mate. As we always do, there's a whole host of Spider-Man characters linked to the books. I've got an image there of all the variations, or some of the variations, with a stunning spread by Delotto, I think it was. But Spider-Man's got a massive supporting cast. So we're not talking villains here. We're talking Spider-Man supporting cast or alternate versions of Spider-Man. So we'll jump to each of you just for you to say who jumps out to you, who's one of your favourite characters. And we'll start with you, JP. Anybody that jumps out to you?
Oh, Ben Reilly. I really like the Clone Saga. Ben Reilly coming into his own as a Scarlet Spider-Man. Yeah.
Have you read any of the recent issues?
I haven't. No. Yeah, I heard.
Awful. Yeah, they've turned him into a kind of a villain. Is it called The Void or something? I don't know if Andy's still in the chat. Luke, are you reading the recent issues or not?
I'm not. I haven't read Spider-Man for about 3 years now, despite still getting them through the post.
Yeah, they've really screwed Ben Reilly up, and they've just done a series called Dark Web, where he was one of the main protagonists, and it was bloody horrible. It was awful. Right. But yeah, the original run of the Clone Saga and all that kind of jazz. Very, very cool. Yeah, very cool. What about yourself, Ben?
I'd probably have to go with Miles, because again, it's, I spoke earlier about cultural phenomenon, that Spider-Man was, the inclusion of Miles and has really kind of sparked inspiration, like in the next generation for Spider-Man, and kind of reinvigorated the character, I think, for that generation. So like I'm a big fan of that character, and obviously Spider-Verse just elevated that tenfold. Miles.
I think it's going to be really interesting 10 years time or so to see the shift in Spider-Man, because I think there'll be a massive generation where Miles is their Spider-Man. I know Luke's talked about this before, where that Peter Parker will almost be a side note, and I think Miles will certainly resonate with a lot more people, I think. So yeah, great.
It's already happening, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's happening because they've got him in the schools. They got him with the Scholastic books. So now even kids at primary school age are picking up Miles Morales-based books very early on.
Yeah, and the kids have got this new TV show out, Spidey and Friends, which has Miles and Gwen in as well.
Yeah, good stuff. There's a few people in the comments there, Fuzzy and Ian and things like that, and Andy, I think, saying that they already think it's happening, same as you, Ben. So yeah, good stuff. James, what about yourself?
Spider-Man Noir. I love noir detective mysteries and love his costume. It's just a good mashup of two things I really like. Really interesting take on some of the supporting cast as well in that kind of run, but just a fantastic idea, I think. I'm excited about the series coming to Amazon.
Is the series animated or is it live action?
No, live action.
Live action.
But they've not got. It's going to be horrible.
Not got Nicolas Cage in it.
No, they haven't said casting right. I'd imagine they'll go 25-year-old actor.
Ben, why do you think it's going to be horrible?
Oh, it's just everything about that reeks of desperation to kind of, use the property and cash in, and it's just like it's going to be horrible. And it's like Amazon, like, other than The Boys, they miss a lot more than what people like to admit, and I'd rather that just not exist. I don't even think it will get off the ground. I really don't.
Possibly. I think it makes more sense though to do that than like a Craven movie or a Morbius movie without Spider-Man in it.
Or just stop, just focus on like the Spider-Verse films or whatever, and like what works and what's good, and just stop, Sony. Stop it.
Luke, what about yourself?
So, are we talking supporting characters in general, or are we talking spider characters? Because everyone else picked an actual Spider-Man.
In general.
Just supporting in general. So
there's no rules, Luke.
No rules.
You make the rules, mate. It's whatever.
If you get it wrong, we're kicking you out.
My go-to would have been Kurt Connors, the Lizard, as my favorite character. But supporting character-wise, I think I would lean more towards J. Jonah Jameson because he just cracks me up. No matter what run I'm reading, when he turns up, it's a good time.
Yeah. There was I can't remember what issue it is, and it's one of those ones where I read it and I totally forgot about it. I think it was during this whole Civil War kind of period where Jonah finds out that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and it's a beautiful kind of conversation between the pair of them. I think Jonah's wife had just died or something like that. It was very cool.
Well, then he goes on to try and sue him, doesn't he? Because he was conning him for all the photos.
Yeah. So for me, favorite supporting character, there's so many of them, but I think I would probably say Flash Thompson. I love his character arc. I love that you can follow him from the very first issues of being the kind of the schoolyard jock bully and all that kind of stuff. Something that resonates, and then all the way through to where he is more recently, where he became Agent Venom. I love the concept of Agent Venom. I'm not sure where they're at with that now. I don't know if he's stepped away from that role completely or not, but I enjoyed the issues where he was Agent Venom a lot. Okay, so we touched on supporting characters. Spider-Man's got one of the best, I think, catalogue of villains, probably only equal really to probably Batman, I think, in terms of variety and colour and all that kind of stuff. Got the original Sinister Six here because I couldn't resist putting a bit of Alex Ross artwork on screen. He's got some amazing villains. So we'll come to James first. Who's one of your favourite villains, James?
I've always adored Mysterio. Like, I just love in the comics the concept of like a special effects producer in a movie from a movie studio, like using that as to commit crimes. I love the costume. I know people like to make fun of it, but I love the theatricality of it and everything. It's just a phenomenal character. I even think like there were some changes to the movie version, but I thought it worked quite well.
Yeah, tremendous character, and I really enjoyed them when they used him outside of Spider-Man as well. That Guardian Devil run. He's phenomenal in that. He's very good in that. Yeah. Ben, I suspect I know what you're going to say.
Well, no, it's tricky for me because I've kind of probably got like a level pegging top three: Kingpin, Sandman, and Rhino. I'd find it really hard to decide between those guys. Of course, I got my little grill there in my Rhino. I don't know. I love Sandman. Like, I think if I had a gun against my head, and was asked to pick it out of the three, I probably might say Sandman, just because Marco's just kind of one of these characters that, like, he's just kind of epitomizes like tragedy and how if enough bad things happen to someone who's trying to do good, then it can turn good people bad. I love the kind of, like, I know James said about the theatricality of Mysterio. Sandman's kind of the opposite. He's just a dude in a striped jumper, like, and the kind of the visually interesting element to him is obviously the sand and stuff. So, and artists can do so much with that as well. Like, it kind of sparks my imagination, really. So yeah, I think I'm going to say Sandman, but Kingpin and Rhino are really, really close up there.
Yeah, I love the character of Sandman, and I think it just pays tribute, I guess, to some of the creativity back then that they could come up with such a. That all the characters on screen they're such interesting designs and characters. Only time I didn't enjoy reading Sandman was when they tried to turn him into an Avenger, and he became one of the Avengers for a while.
Part of it, I love that. I love that.
I do get a bit cheesed off with the whole villain becomes a hero kind of storyline. I like my villains to be villains. And I know you would argue Marco is not really a villain, But yeah, no.
I'm
Interesting
starting to
stuff.
worry about you, Peter. You're saying that. You're saying you empathise with Flash Thompson being a bully.
No, I didn't say I empathise with him. I said I reflect on it because I experienced bullying from someone like
Oh,
Flash.
okay.
That's
The
what I
way you
meant.
said
Yeah.
it sounded
No,
like
no,
I was
no.
like, wait, what?
Because
No,
I know
no,
what it's like
no.
to bully someone
Yeah,
mercilessly.
no, I'll rephrase it. I know what it's like to be bullied. Fat, ginger, glasses. Didn't have much of a chance, really. Luke,
Should have been
favorite
Spider-Man.
character. Lizard.
Yeah, 100% the Lizard. Without doubt, one of my favorite fictional characters of all time is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and that is what this character is. As a kid, I loved dinosaurs, and this is a reptilian dinosaur man. Like, I just loved the character.
Yeah. And again, a bit like Sandman, one of those characters that's you can very much empathize with them because they've got this flawed kind of. They've tried to do something good, I guess, in the Lizard, hasn't he? He's trying to just fix his arm
Well, I've always said that Dr. Connors is a great man, a good man who has had something terrible before him. The Lizard entity might as well be the same as the Green Goblin with Norman Osborn. They're separate characters sharing one body. It was like you say, a man who lost his arm and he just wanted to hug his wife and child again. His heart was in the right place.
Yeah. Speaking of Norman Osborn, anybody read the recent run on Golden Goblin? Wow. Oh, rough. It's rough. Not the best. Not the best. Although I will say I read Red Goblin, which is little Normie Osborn with a symbiote, and actually that was a cracking read. That was good fun. That's well worth picking up. Pete, what about you? Your favourite villain?
Yeah, well, I would have said Venom, but he didn't really stay a villain for long, did he? So I'd go for my second choice, which would be Hobgoblin. Yeah, I just really like that character, Ned Leeds, and that run.
Yeah, great
especially in the 90s cartoon. I thought they did.
Mark Hamill
Hobgoblin really well in that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. Was it Mark Hamill that did the voice for it? Was it
Mark Hamill? Yeah.
I didn't realise. Yeah, superb character. Really, really cool.
Sorry.
No,
I was just going to say it's funny that GP said about Venom not being a villain for long, but in the Spider-Man world, I think he always is. I tried to explain this to my children that he's a villain to Spider-Man as an individual, as opposed to a villain to the world.
Yeah. He's recently. They've said now that he's never going to be Eddie Brock again, haven't they, Venom? That's the latest thing. I mean, not that that'll happen, but what they've said is that Eddie Brock will never be Venom again. It's his son, Dylan, now, who's Venom forever.
Yeah.
Until next
relaunch,
issue 1. Yeah. Couple of comments. We've got Fuzzy saying crack and mustache. I'm assuming he's talking about Jonah Jameson. Fuzzy saying Kingpin, Hammerhead. Yeah. That's a very good character. Shocker. Yeah. I always love Shocker as well. Ian, Mysterio, because of all the different things you can do compared to other villains. Yeah, I thought they handled him amazingly in the Spider-Man movie, mate. I thought with the little drones and everything, that was really, really nice.
I was sort of missing the movie magic element. I think
do you not think you got that? I mean, that scene where he takes Peter out and you've got the zombie Iron Man.
That was
phenomenal.
I thought all of that was amazing. I just didn't. My biggest problem with those films is the amount of Stark tech. I know that they wanted to unify it and have it all together, but making everyone a product of Tony Stark was a bit much.
Yeah. Andy's coming in there with Mr. Negative for many, many reasons. Not a character I know a lot about.
I think one of the strongest contenders for the next Tom Holland villain. I think they might go that.
Is that based, James, on your knowledge of the computer games rather than the comics?
Partly, but also they've set up the whole feast shelter thing, and I think that would fit nicely with Aunt May's passing and Peter kind of taking over there, and you work in Martin Lee that way. I think visually incredible.
I think they'll go for the Jackal because I think they'll give us Aunt May back as a clone.
Really? I think they're going to go straight for Venom line.
Let's talk about that in the media section because I know Ben's got a slide on it next. So we'll hold the horses on.
These guys are pre-ejaculating over here. Like.
It's webbing, Ben. It's webbing.
Okay, I think what we can agree is that there's some amazing characters in the Spider-Man universe, and he's blessed with having some fantastic villains. So yeah, very, very good stuff. Okay, so in this section, we're going to look at media. So that's going to cover movies, cartoons, and computer games and other things. But Ben's going to start off. Ben, are you okay to? You've got control of the mouse, so can you move on?
Oh,
Do you want me
gosh,
to
yeah, I
move on?
did. I forgot. I was sat back
You
like
have
that.
control. You have the power.
Don't have to be a next slide, please, wanker. Right, okay. So, yeah, let's just have a little look over at the live action kind of film versions of Spidey. So, had to put these up as some honourable mentions, as they, don't usually get the shine they deserve. But of course, in the late 70s, we had the sort of TV series, and then I think there was a film version of that, and then of course we had the Japanese Spider-Man as well, which is kind of he's found new relevance, with all the Spider-Verse stuff recently, which is pretty fun.
I remember.
I'm going to throw it out there. That costume, the TV costume, that's a good costume, man.
For the time.
I remember rushing home to watch these in back in the day when I was just a child. They used to do every Friday night at the school. There was like movie night where you could go, and it was Spider-Man on. And I mean, it by today's standards, when you look back, it is shit. It's really shit. But actually, at the time when it was out, it was like nothing you'd ever seen before. It was superb. Wasn't he played by the guy from was it Sound of Music or Little House on the Prairie or something?
Nicholas Hammond, I think, is his name.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was Sound of Music that he was in. But yeah, great. And you're right, Ben. Probably, to be fair.
Yeah, Sound of Music.
One of the best Spider-Man costumes, like in terms of true to the comics, I loved the silver eyes as well on both of them. Brilliant.
I know there's a couple of Power Rangers fans, and that Japanese Spider-Man series is sort of what led to Power Rangers being created as well. So
yeah,
indeed, yeah. So moving on then to I'm sure what people remember a little bit fresher in their heads there, and that is of course the first sort of trilogy that we got, which was directed by Sam Raimi and of course starred Tobey Maguire. So we had our first film with the Green Goblin. We then had Alfred Molina's Doc Ock in the second one, and then of course we had the shit show that was the third one. But it did feature one of my favorite kind of comic book versions of a character, which was Thomas Hayden Church's version of Sandman. Like, I still think his transformation scene is one of the most beautiful comic book movie scenes of all time.
When his hand just kind of collapses.
It's just stunning. The music and everything. It's honestly, it gives me chills.
It's a good movie.
Those films happened.
I think, just to interrupt, Ben, sorry, that I think Spider-Man 2 for me still stands up as one of the best superhero movies of all time. Some of the action scenes in that, on the train and things, and on the clock tower thing, it's just phenomenal. And that scene where, and I agree with you about the Sandman scene, but I think in Spider-Man 2, the scene where his arms, his tentacles come to life is pure Sam Raimi, but it is just amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. I remember at the cinema thinking, fuck me, what's this? Because there was kids in the audience, and it was pretty terrifying at points.
Yeah, I think Sam Raimi's kind of stylized, campy sort of style really suits like these films at the time they were made. Since I think comic book films have morphed into something very different now. Yeah. And, we saw the results in Multiverse of Madness, how his style maybe doesn't match up necessarily anymore. But I think for what, most of us were very young. Most of us when these came out. So they have a huge kind of nostalgic importance for us. So Peter was in his late 30s when these came out. And moving on then to the next, sadly not trilogy. This was just the two films. Is it Mark Webb? Is it Mark Webb who directed these? I haven't got notes or anything.
Ironically.
No, nice. Pun intended, maybe. Sony went, hey, give it to that guy. It'll be funny.
That might literally be what happens.
Just for the shits and gigs. So we, of course, got Andrew Garfield now taking on the role of Peter Parker. we sort of got this whole kind of exploration into his parents' history and that they were agents, and so it was a kind of it was a different version here, but we did get some new villains. We got Doc Connors there, obviously Luke's favorite, the Lizard.
Yeah, not a fan of this version
with
though.
his Goomba face, and then we got of course Jamie Foxx debuting as Electro in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I do still protest that this is the best the best Spider-Man costume we've had in any film to date. Even the final scene of No Way Home, I still think this second Andrew Garfield suit is chef's kiss. Like it literally looks like a Todd McFarlane drawing. Like it's astounding.
But he's also got the. I mean, I'm not being funny, but he's also got the body for it. I think in terms of a Todd McFarlane artwork, he's got that kind of. I want to say lanky, kind of scrawny look to him, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we're going to come to the question in a minute, but yeah, we'll come to that in a second, and we can all put our pictures in for the best Spidey. But more recent times, of course, has seen Tom Holland come in into our MCU as Spider-Man. So we kind of got the introduction in Civil War. Under Ruse there, and then we got him in Infinity War and Endgame, and then his films were, of course, we had Homecoming, we had Far From Home, and we had No Way Home. So he has had a trilogy, and it looks like he's probably going to get another trilogy, which you love to see, because I don't think there's any debate. I know we're going to have a debate about who the best Spidey is, but I don't think there's any debate that he's not good, you know, and he's not well fitted for this role. And I think he's done an incredible job. But I know that I'm sort of with Luke with the criticisms around it, all kind of linking back to sort of Tony. But I think that's kind of done now. So I'm very excited for the sort of prospect of, you know, what comes next, which we'll touch on in a second. But of course, if you take a step to the left, you'll enter the Spider-Verse, and you'll be introduced to Miles Morales and all of his co-stars here in what I think is one of the greatest comic book films of all time. I absolutely love that film, and we are of course getting a sequel to that in Across the Spider-Verse coming very, very soon, which is going to introduce the Spot as the villain / Spider-Man 2099, but I don't think he's a villain. I think they're just making it look like that for now. So that's all very exciting. But let's have a fight and discuss who we think is our favorite Spider-Man / Peter Parker and why. So I will kick off and throw my hat in the ring and go with Andrew Garfield. And I kind of sat on that, you know. It's been a slow decision that, like, I didn't think when I was watching like Tom Holland's first couple of films, I was like, no, Andrew Garfield's still the best. But I think now that I've kind of seen them all together, and I've kind of reflected, I've like rewatched multiple times, obviously, things, and tried to kind of turn off, you know, take off the nostalgia goggles a bit, because they can tint sometimes memory, and I do think he's the best. I think he's, as Peter said, his kind of slender body and stuff, he looks like Peter Parker. I think like facially, like he looks like him, and I think he's the best actor out of the three. Like I do think he's the most kind of versatile in terms of performance. My one criticism when I was watching them initially, it was like, oh, I think he's a bit too cocky to be Peter. But like when he's quipping in that suit, like it's absolutely perfect. And yeah, that second suit for me is like, you know, it doesn't get better than that. So I'm not going to go into why I don't like Tobey Maguire or anything, because I don't want to upset anyone. But Andrew Garfield is my choice. So let us know in the chat as well who your favourite Peter Parker and Spider-Man is. We're going to go top to bottom, and he's always on top, even though it might crush you. It's Peter.
This is almost an impossible question for me. Like you see, each one of them, I think, is very good for their own reasons. I do love Tom Holland. I enjoy the latest movies. I do completely agree with everything you're saying, both of you, about too much tech. And I'm with you, Ben. I hope the next one is tech free. To be honest, I want street level wall crawling, I guess. My heart is always with Toby because of exactly what you said in terms of nostalgia. Going to the cinema, I remember that being on the big screen and the excitement, because he was probably the first real big cinema superhero I saw on the big screen, other than Blade, but this was a totally different movie. But probably before the last Spider-Man movie, I would have said Toby, but the last movie, I just fell in love with Andrew Garfield all over again. I don't remember being that impressed with the previous two movies when I saw them at the cinema, but I was completely sold on him in that. I just loved his gigginess. He's
Have you rewatched them recently?
I haven't watched the lizard one. I watched a bit of the Jamie Foxx one with Thomas recently. I watched the bit where Gwen bites the bullet, and it was pretty good, man. I have to say it was well done. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Andrew Garfield.
Nice, Mr. Keegan.
Andrew Garfield in No Way Home is my favorite Spider-Man performance. I actively hated the Amazing Spider-Man movies prior to that, but in the lead up to it, I kind of watched them again, accepting that they're now part of this kind of bigger canon rather than like a replacement for the Tobey Maguire ones that I love. So like I've jumped between these three actors constantly, but I think I probably would give it to Andrew now, but just from No Way Home.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'm just going to catch up with the chat before we come to Luke and see where the votes are at. His spider sense must have been going off because we're talking about Andrew Garfield and there he loves him. James, hope you're well, mate. Good to see you. Very good to see you in the chat, buddy. Silver Knight Carl likes spiders. There you go. Geek Out with Roscoe's here, guys.
All right.
Hey, Roscoe.
Nice to see you, bud.
And Fuzzy is putting in a vote for Tom, just to be crazy. Luke, are you in agreement with Fuzzy or us?
I assume we're just talking about the characters from these live actions, because if not, I would go with Peter B. Parker from the Spider-Verse movie. But no, how do I approach this without sounding aggressive?
Aggressive.
I got really annoyed with the fan base who only cared about Andrew Garfield after seeing No Way Home, because I loved those movies right from the off, and I loved his character right from the off, and I fought with people so often across pints in the pub, just literally arguing that his stories were the best.
Were you with these people, or did you just go up and
just went up to randoms and said,
randomly,
Spider-Man? No, I think he has some of the best. His two movies, albeit that we didn't get a trilogy, his two movies combined together are the best Spider-Man origin story. And whether you love it or hate it, he lost his parents left him at a young age, right? So he literally felt like he wasn't loved or anything like that. Had to go live with his aunt and uncle, his uncle who then dies after he goes through all this transformation himself. And then the poor kid flipping loses the love of his life in Gwen Stacy. And so regardless of how you feel about the mechanical rhino costume at the end, the minute he is swinging that sewer manhole cover,
yeah, it was good.
That is Spider-Man, and it took him those movies to get there. And if we're gonna go back and revisit him, which I hope Sony decides to do, I would love to give him his third movie, but within that movie, maybe just at the end credits or whatever, introduce the character of Miles, and then have him be the one that teaches Miles. And then whether they kill him off after that in a fourth movie or whatever, that's fine. But he should be the one to do it, because like he said in No Way Home, he stopped holding back his punches. He became very dark. And this could be his true redemption. He said in that movie that he always wanted brothers. So give him Miles. Let him be the Peter Parker that trains him.
So that's Toby you've gone for there. Yeah,
that's Toby. Yeah. No. As for Toby, I still think they should bring Toby back for more films as well. And I think they should do the Renew Your Vows story. Give him a daughter. Have him and MJ living their lives in their universe. and do the May Parker story.
I don't think we need more Toby.
I do.
Secret Wars, maybe, you know, as a kind of gratuitous kind of, you know, part of that, but he's not very good. Like,
That's just your opinion, Ben. Okay,
he's
I
weird.
would like
he's
a Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4, and
He-
I'm sure a lot of people
he
would.
unnerves me. Like, no one is like that in real life. Like, it's like a very unnatural
Well,
thing.
so I'm a Toby man. I do like Toby. I would like to see another Toby movie, I have to say. But I see what you're saying, Ben, because there were times when he was talking, his speech pattern was almost like someone who's had some kind of brain injury. He was like very kind of slow, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would like to see another Spider-Man I'd like to see them all in another movie, to be honest.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think Andrew will come back. But I can 100% see Toby coming in for Secret Wars. Like,
I think they'll
100%.
both be back.
Right, GP, come on then, mate. You might be the decider here.
Oh man, I don't know, because they all bring something different, don't they?
Yeah.
I would have to go with Garfield because he just stole
Hey.
that last movie. His scenes in No Way Home, brilliant.
Congratulations, Andrew Garfield. If you're watching,
Is that unanimous?
we love you.
Was that
No,
unanimous?
because Luke wanted Toby, didn't he?
Oh, Luke wanted to.
Luke's the spanner. Luke's the spanner.
To be fair though, like, look, I know you said like it upsets you that some people are only appreciating him because of No Way Home, but I would argue that he's really amazing in No Way Home, and he's not really amazing in his own movies. So I think that's fair to think that.
You're allowed to change your opinion, and I would say
no.
I think he struggled with his. Well, personally, I didn't like the whole parents as a spy malarkey.
I hated it.
But that is straight
No.
from the comic books. That is a thing.
Yeah,
That's
the
a
recent,
shit
more
thing in the
recent
comic
comics,
books,
and it
though.
was shit.
Blimey.
Marvelous, good
But
stuff.
then even so, the thing is, right, about that storyline with his parents being the spies. They just they went ahead and done that with Miles as well. They literally gave that story to Miles's parents.
Yeah.
So what's next? So let's just have a little bit of fun speculation here. I know I kind of alluded to it earlier with that final shot of No Way Home, kind of stripping away Spider-Man of everything now, you know, and he really is that Spider-Man that we maybe all kind of remember more fondly, which is the one that listens in on the police radio and hand sews his outfit and goes out and fights those street level villains. So with all of that in mind, for me, I'm actually going to disagree with all the other kind of villains that you think it is. I think it's Kingpin. We know Vincent's obviously on hand now with the MCU, and we know, we pretty much know that he's probably going to be reintroduced in Echo and you know, kind of play a part in that. And I think that he will serve as you know, the true kind of Kingpin by the time the Spider-Man film comes around. And I think that will be a real kind of boots to the ground style story and we might get your Hammerhead, you might get your kind of
Tombstone,
yeah. Like all those kind of crooks and stuff. So and maybe Rhino, because why not? So yeah, that's my kind of speculation, but I don't know whether that will even come before Secret Wars at this point, just because there's so much other stuff going on. Apparently, Toby? No, mine's gone blank. Tom, sorry, is due back for the Kang Dynasty. So I don't know whether that's the next time we're going to see him now.
So I'd heard that. I'm seeing. I'd read something that he's going to be kind of like the leader of the Avengers in the Kang Dynasty.
He's not a leader,
He's not exactly.
War Machine isn't going to take demands from a young kid.
It'll be War Machine or Cap or Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel probably will be there.
Yeah.
So you guys got any kind of speculation?
I think this is just total dreaming, because this is what I want to think would happen. Is I think the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, like you say, Ben, will be probably more grounded. I think they'll go for more of a Marvel Knights feel to them. So you might have things like Daredevil in the movies. You might get Moon Knights, those Punisher, perhaps those street level kind of action, I think, is where Spider-Man excels. I completely agree with Luke from earlier. I want him completely stripped of all of the tech. He should be in his long johns with his, get him back to being a bit of a science whiz himself. So building his own web slingers and all that kind of jazz again. But I want rid of all the Stark tech. So that's what I would like with that. I think Sony will have seen that the last movie was a massive cash cow for them. And I would be very surprised if they weren't trying to get everybody else involved, Andrew Garfield to have his own franchise and Toby. Yeah. And again, I'm with Luke. I don't know quite which one. I'm more aligned with Tobey Maguire being the mentor for Miles Morales, because I don't think, again, like you said, Ben, I don't think Tobey Maguire's got the physical ability anymore. So you get him being the father figure to Miles. Andrew Garfield, you get him being the father figure in a nice rounded way to a version of Gwen, and you get Spider-Gwen involved.
Throwing it out there, I think Tom will be. Yeah. Because I think Miles will come in as the result of Secret Wars. I think Secret Wars will have the incursion or whatever. There'll be one universe left. That's it. And Miles will fall into that universe as a result of everything. And I think Tom will be the one that you know, passes the baton. Or maybe, I don't know. There's so much fun stuff like to come potentially. And I think the Venom thing's like amazing, because the idea that, you know, we're going to get that Venom saga told, hopefully, over the course of more than one film, or at least a whole bloody film, and not like a quarter of it.
I don't want that Venom touching Spider-Man.
Yeah, but it won't be like it won't be that.
I do kill him. It's just shit.
You mean the Cookie Monster, right?
Yeah. I think the next one might have like this is sort of just an idea I thought of that I'd really like, but like have like a black and white motif. So you do like the symbiote suit, Mr. Negative, and Black Cat. And Black Cat kind of, you know, encourages a lot of Peter Starker kind of impulses that the suit's also kind of influencing him with. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I think
go down a treat with colorblind people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on what deal Sony and Disney make, because that last movie literally was them severing all of their characters. Like, they made it so that nobody remembered Peter Parker, so that all the MCU characters like Happy and MJ and Ned were left behind, and it would just be Peter. So depending on what sort of deal they have, because again, you have to remember the Kingpin is a very trapped legally type character between, you know, Daredevil and Disney and Sony and everyone else. You know, they can use him for TV but not for movies, and vice versa, and everything else can all get quite messy there. So again, it depends on the deals that are made. If Sony just wanted to keep it away from the MCU, then I could see them doing these other storylines. You know, this is the perfect opportunity for him to meet a Black Cat or to meet a Gwen Stacy. Like I mentioned earlier, doing the Clone Saga and having the Jackal, because I do think getting rid of Aunt May is a mistake. You know, you need that responsibility. That's the whole reason why he wears a mask. It's to protect the ones that he loves. At the moment, that's not a problem.
Yeah. And you know, they might stick with the comic tradition. Mind the Secret Wars is what introduces us to the MCU version of Venom, I suppose, because that's where obviously the symbiote first comes from.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah,
100%.
How long do you think it's going to take that to get from Mexico to New York? That's when you get the film.
Crawling, like.
Good stuff.
Okay, cool.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Ben. Great discussion. Just wanted to quickly touch on this, guys. So this is the cartoon versions of Spider-Man. Listed all the ones on there that I can remember. There's been a whole host of different cartoons. Again, nostalgia plays a big part of this, because I absolutely adore Spider-Man and his amazing friends in my mind. And then I watched an episode the other week, and it is shite beyond belief. It is shockingly bad. But in my mind, it's like Shakespeare. Do you know what I mean? That original Spider-Man from '94 is just a masterpiece, and we've got some amazing storylines. I would also say that I absolutely loved the Ultimate Spider-Man run because of the different characters you got involved with that. Nova was in it, all kinds of stuff. So some brilliant cartoons. Have you guys got any that jump out? And we'll start with you, James. Is the one there that jumps out at you as being a real triumph?
I couldn't even begin to explain like how deeply I love the 90s series. But I think Spectacular Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man cartoon. Like amazing versions of the characters. It has this kind of serialized storyline, and there's kind of things that it sets up in an episode that pay off 5 episodes later. It's a tragedy that got cut short so quickly. It's only 2 seasons long, but really fantastic version of the character.
Yeah, good stuff. Ben?
I mean, the 94 series alongside X-Men, basically Fox Kids, is what, you know, that and the Batman Returns film are kind of what got me into comic books and ultimately kind of carved out like such a huge part of my life now. So yeah, it's got to be that show all the way. But it's a crime that Sandman is not in that show. I'll take Hydra Man because he's equally
Another James Cameron was going to use him, so they didn't let him use it.
Oh, is that right?
That's why Electro's so late.
He's in one episode, I think, one of the last episodes.
Well, I would have to go back and check my I'm pretty sure. So the Spider-Man 94 is pretty much what they based the 3D ride on in Florida. Yeah. And I think Sandman's on that. I can't remember. But if anybody ever gets a chance to go to Florida and have a go on that ride, it is stunning. And it stands up. It's been there for 20 years or whatever, but it's still a superb ride to go on. It's well worth a visit. Luke, what about yourself?
Yeah, repeating much of the same as what the other guys have said. The 1994 will always hold a special place in my heart. Little shameless plug there. I've actually written an article about that today, ready for 2 weeks' time. So that'll be my Go Collect article coming out soon. But yeah, like James said, Spectacular Spider-Man is a phenomenal series. They do such a good job of tying everything together and making it so concise. They made me adore the character of Gwen Stacy, and I just kept worrying that they were going to go where they go with that character, and I didn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm currently rewatching it with my kids. We actually watched the first episode of season 2 this evening. It's a great show.
All right. Good stuff. How about you, GP?
Yeah, obviously I would have said Spider-Man 94. Do you know that you used to get that on a Saturday morning on Live and Kicking?
Oh, yeah.
You used to have to wait the whole show for the second part.
Yeah.
We used to do it in 2 parts, the bastards. Yeah, obviously, the 67, I grew up on that during the 80s. Yeah, but I tried Spider-Man Unlimited, just couldn't get into that.
I'd say I quite enjoyed it just because of the variety of characters. I think I've seen everything there apart from Spider-Man, the new animated series, that kind of computer-generated one.
It's weird. Like there's some odd choices. It's sort of supposed to be a semi-sequel to the first Raimi movie. It's a lot of the kind of setup where that.
And there's swearing in it, right? I remember that.
Swearing. It's very adult. Like it was an MTV show.
Isn't it?
Like,
Neil Patrick Harris does the voice.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, Michael Clark Duncan voices Kingpin in it as well, so it sort of ties into the Daredevil movie as well.
Right.
But it was
shit! Now I've got to watch it.
Yeah, just that. Even just watch that episode. But like,
That's
it's
amazing.
But look at the
it's of its
graphics,
time.
you really want to watch it.
Some of it's a bit dated, but there's some really good episodes, some really good storylines.
It literally looks like an action figure.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. I just wanted to mention this. This was in terms of media. Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark.
Turn off the musical.
Yeah, one of the most expensive productions ever made, and it bombed. Lost them a shitload of money. Was plagued with issues, plagued with injuries. But I would have loved to have seen it. Could you know for it?
If this was like running still, I would have seen it by now. Definitely, like a West End.
They reckon they couldn't move it from the theater it was in because of all of the wire work and how it was set up and all the rest of it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, a massive shit, because you would have thought a Spider-Man live show would have pulled them in,
Didn't like is it Bono or someone that did the music for it?
Yeah, Bono.
Yeah.
That's probably
Crazy.
what happened. I don't
Got
know.
no on the edge. Fuck me. On paper, like this should have been. Yeah, it just was. It's such an interesting story if people go out and do some research on it. Like the Green Goblin design is one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like one of the worst.
This is what I was going to say, Ben. I never understand why they screw with classics, because that is not Green Goblin in any shape or form, is it?
It's like the Fly.
It's awful. But if we didn't get this, we wouldn't get Rogers the musical. So
yeah, very true, very true.
swings and
Or
roundabouts.
the Marvel superheroes live shows, of which I've seen 3, I think. Batman live.
No,
which
but
was
they're
phenomenal.
not. You can't, because they're arena
Yeah.
shows. This was a West
Proper
End
theatre
musical. You know, it's like, yeah, don't do it again.
Yeah, yeah. And Rod, you mentioned Rogers, there. That's now going to be a formal show, isn't it? Somewhere, I can't remember where.
Yeah, it's got a short run at
Universal,
Disney.
Disneyland, Florida.
God, to see, I
Love
would
that.
absolutely love to go and see that.
I really want to see
Lord.
it.
Okay, moving on to games. So Spider-Man appearances and games. James, you're going to take me through here, but I just want to say I was appalled you didn't put one of the best Spider-Man games ever on, which is this, The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
Now, this was my first entry into Spider-Man games on the Commodore 64. I entered a competition to win. You had to design your own superhero, and I won the competition and was sent a copy of this game.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
He was the only one that entered.
How dare you? My character was superb. It was Roboplop. It was a turd that had been flushed down the toilet and then turned into Robocop. So I literally drew a turd with Robocops. Anyway,
You haven't
this was
changed,
utter
have you?
shit. I mean, this was dreadful. This was dreadful. That's going to come to a what if in the future.
Yeah.
And this was absolutely awful game. Even back then, it was crap. But it had some stunning kind of cutscenes and artwork by Todd McFarlane there, and a great, I thought, animation for when you start to lose life. So as you can see, Spider-Man basically turns into a skeleton as you lose life.
It's not really in tone with the character, though, is it? You know,
not so much. And as you can see, it's got traditional Spider-Man villains on the bottom there. You know, he's in the sewer fighting giant rats as he does. Yeah, it was shit. So moving on, James, you have control.
I actually just read a comic like that was part of a magazine. There's a villain called Vermin.
Yeah. He's part of
Yeah,
Ben. He's part of Craven's Last Hunt, isn't he?
Yeah.
Vermin. Yeah, big character. Yeah.
There's plenty of bad Spider-Man games, and I know like the Atari version, I think is often considered like one of the worst games ever made. Like they were kind of the ET game, but I'm more familiar with the modern ones. So I kind of plucked one or two retro ones. But Maximum Carnage is one I know a lot of.
Yeah, I used to get that from Blockbuster like every week.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
Really iconic cover art on it. I know there's like a super exclusive comic variant. I think that it was included with the copy. That is a lot of people's kind of grail. But it's a good, if you're looking for a side-scrolling Spider-Man one, that's the one you should go for. Never saw Spider-Man on the PS1. So this is kind of the first 3D Spider-Man game. It's the company that went on to do
So many memories.
Tony Hawk games.
Brilliant game.
But just fantastic. Like I can even just hear the soundtrack in my head now, and just fighting like the last boss is like I think it's like a Carnage symbiote taking over Doc Ock or something like that, like a Monster Rock, I think it's called. It's just it's fantastic. Kind of semi-adjacent to the 90s cartoon, but different voice actor, but it was a great one. Then moving on, Spider-Man 2 sort of broke the wheel for Spider-Man games. The template this game set really is what most Spider-Man games going forward kind of took the open world, sort of physics-based web swinging. So like webs had to attach to buildings, and how you swung was dependent on whether it was on your left side or right side, or where you jump off of the arc, determines your speed and everything. So really revolutionary. Web of Shadows is one I think is kind of underrated. So this was on the PS3. Terrible story and an awful, like the worst Spider-Man voice actor I've ever heard, but had some really interesting ideas in it. Like the symbiote suit comes into the gameplay, so you can swap between the red suit and the black suit. And you have different like symbiote powers when you're using the black. And there's like moments where you can choose like to do a good or bad thing. So you can go off with Black Cat instead of helping Mary Jane and stuff like that. And I still think one of the best combat systems in any Spider-Man game, like you can kind of dive towards people, you like web up to them and kick off of them, or you can throw them, and it's really, really deep. And I'd love to see the kind of newer games take some elements of that. In terms of like influence on Spider-Man as a whole, I think Shattered Dimensions is really monumental. Like the Spider-Verse movie wouldn't exist without this game. So this is like Dan Slott kind of experimenting with taking established versions of Spider-Man and crossing them over together. So I think the whole story was it's Noir 2099 ultimate and amazing, and it's like Mysterio breaks like a tablet and it shatters the multiverse, and you have to kind of play as each one and kind of get all the pieces to put back together. And it had like Neil Patrick Harris, Christopher Daniel Barnes, like all the kind of classic Spider-Man voice actors came back to do one of their versions, you know. So it was a really great game. And then the kind of modern one. So this is, you know, a lot of people would say, yeah, the best version of Spider-Man. I certainly think the best story and the, you know, the kind of focus on Peter and some of my favorite interpretations of the villains as well, like some amazing costumes and performances in these ones. And it was nice that Miles kind of got his own spotlight to shine in as well.
I've still never played these games.
Yeah, fantastic. You should really, really give it a go. Like the animation, the storyline. Like I cried at the end of the original one. It's just that it gets to that place.
I cried as well when I saw this outfit.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I hated this.
Gonna kick off.
I hated this costume when I saw it the first time, but now it's my favorite Spider-Man costume. So it won me over anyway. Like you see it, you instantly recognize that's the video.
Favorite.
That's that hideous outfit from the game. Yeah, you recognize
I love it.
I like the Miles one.
Yeah, Miles is very cool.
Yeah.
But again, this goes back to the comment, I guess, about the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Why did they change what is classic? Do you know what I mean? I don't understand why they would change the costume.
So you can choose to play, like you start the game in the regular suit and you can choose to stay in that if you want to. Like it's optional. But it's just to kind of make it more distinct. Like it's instantly recognizable. That's the version of the character from the game, you know. Whereas like you look at the Marvel's Avengers game, and they're all just slightly off versions of the MCU, and it doesn't feel very inspired. So I actually really appreciate the differences in this. Like it's just kept enough, but there's a big kind of change that I think really works.
Brilliant. Very cool. Thank you very much, James. Any of you guys played many of these, or any that you want to play?
The last one I played was on the Mega Drive. I would love to play the latest ones, but there's no way I'll be spending that sort of money on a games console.
Yeah,
can't just.
And I think that's it. I understand why consoles have got to have kind of specific
just a Battle Cat, Luke.
things, you know. But
well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, I spend that sort of money on 1960s paper, so yeah, I don't really have a leg to stand on.
I would love to play one of these, but I'm an Xbox man. I've got Xbox, so I would have to buy a totally separate console.
Well, that's your problem.
I saw James die a little inside when you said that. Like.
Okay, chaps. Moving on to merchandise.
Jesus.
Let's have a little look. What?
Hideous.
Did you pay that, Pete?
I think that's stunning. That's you. Let's have a look at some of the different bits and bobs that you can get. It's got sticky hands.
If I saw that at a boot sale, I'd still buy it.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you can get some tremendous merchandise, all kinds of Spider-Man related stuff. Cosplayer's dream, obviously.
Is that at the middle top?
So cosplayer's dream. You can get all kinds of various Spider-Man costumes and things. Ben, you didn't send us any images of you in Spider-Man cosplay. I'm presuming you've done a bit of Spider-Man cosplay.
Well, as you know, my body shape doesn't necessarily lend itself to being Peter Parker, so I've not done many, Peter cosplays. I think like one of my first nights out in uni, there's like just a shot of me in a Spider-Man costume, pissed in the corner.
Happy days.
I actually have that mug.
Me too.
Nice.
I've
got that bed.
From Luke's bedroom. Yeah, that's Bed's marital bed. That's what you're sleeping. So yeah, all kinds of various bits and bobs. You've got your standard teddy bears and stuff. You've got bizarre stuff like they're in the top corner there. They're Spider-Man oven gloves, just in case you ever want to take a hot tray out of an oven. A Spider-Man. That hand grasping thing is the Spider-Man Warrior. Now, I wasn't sure what it was at first, but that's actually a knife in case you ever want to kill someone.
Right. Okay.
Lovely.
Yeah, good stuff. I guess the merch we're probably more familiar with. Yeah, I love that. Someone's getting fired for that, surely. Who the hell designs a balloon?
We went to a kids' party the other week, and all the balloons were like that. Like Ant-Man had a little wiener, and Falcon had a little wiener that he blew into. Yeah.
I mean, surely to God, someone thought, hang on a minute, this could.
Like I know you need that seal part, but put it on his foot.
Anywhere else.
Exactly. Or out of his.
I mean, the thing I think it is that it almost looks to scale as well, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
That's very generous, I think.
Yeah,
Very generous.
The little Peter Parker.
Yeah, not for me. Yeah, but these are some of the original figures, some of the old kind of action figures you could pick up. Some of the first Spider-Man toys I can remember having is that one in the center there, which was from the Secret Wars line.
Yep.
Amazing line of figures. Pretty basic, obviously, by today's standards, and came with a bizarre accessory of these shields with kind of holograms in them. Not holograms, what do you call them? Is it lenticular things? Yeah. Which was bizarre because that wasn't a thing in the comics or the cartoons. It was obviously just an accessory that added to every character to have, which was a little bit odd. Amazing line of figures, the Secret Wars figures. I've got a couple. I think I've got Dr. Doom, and I know MJ Comics has got a few as well. You guys got any Secret Wars figures? Something I'm always on the lookout for.
Yeah, I have a few of them. Spider-Man is my particular favorite.
Yeah.
That's I've had it since I first bought it.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't buy it; I had it gifted.
Very hard to get a hold of in decent condition because the paint work on them is horrendous.
Oh, mine's destroyed, but it's through years of play.
Yeah. And then we've got some more modern figures. These are the recent kind of line of Spider-Man early cartoon figures, which are stunning, absolutely stunning. Now, Luke, I do know you collect these kind of figures. Have you got any of those ones?
I do. I have all of them that have been released so far.
Yeah, the nice looking figures, mind. I do like them.
Yeah.
And are they coming in blister packs like that, or are they now going to the whole no plastic thing?
So at the moment, they're still coming like that, and I really hope that for inbox collectors that continues because it would be such a shame. I personally open my toys, so I have all of these out of box and on display.
Yeah,
I have a Mysterio, but I opened it, but I kind of wish I either got a second one to keep in it or just kept it in the box because I just love the look of them sealed.
Yeah. Norin Rad's commenting there about the DD Fall from Grace costume. I really like that costume in the comics. I have to say, I really, I think people are still talking about the. I think we've blown the minds with the spider balloon. But yeah, some great figures there, and you can get some really nice smaller scale figures. I guess the bit that I'm probably more interested in is some of these bad boys. This is the 1/6 scale figures. You can get a whole array of different Spider-Man figures from Hot Toys and various other third-party companies. We've got the classic Spider-Man from the computer game there. We've got the advanced suit, I think it's called. Is that not advanced suit? Sorry, is it the advanced suit, James, from the game? Yeah. We've got the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I haven't got that one, but I do quite like it. It's a bit of a hard one to get a hold of these days.
Terrible suit design, though. It's awful. Like,
the bodies are awful. They've not held up well at all. Right. Like, don't do it, Peter.
And I like this one as well on the end. I do like the kind of the hoodie version. So very, very cool.
I know that's like considered the best Spider-Man figure for posability. Like you just have unlimited options with it.
Yeah, I've got the one on the far left, the classic costume there, and I have to say he's good for posing. You've got it as well, Ben, haven't you?
Yeah, no, he's limited.
Yeah, but you worry about the suit damage, I guess. But yeah, nice.
But you can't
nice
do
figures.
everything you want to. You can't because the first thing I wanted to do is get him in that Spidey pose on the floor, and you can't. You can't do it basically.
Yeah, frustrating. Couple of figures from Spider-Verse there. I've got the Spidey 2029 there. That's a really nice figure. Spider-Punk in the middle is pretty cool. And I keep coming back to this, guys. I've mentioned it many a time. I think I am going to have to get a Scarlet Spider figure.
Yeah, buy it, Pete.
I mean, that looks very cool there.
It has to be that costume, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of the Scarlet Spider costumes, it's got to be that one.
Yeah.
I love like the texture that they've added to the suit and everything. Like it's from the model in the game, and it's really amazing. Like,
Yeah, I think I will have to pick that up. I think, but yeah, some very, very smart Hot Toys figures there. I like the Spider Punk as well. Actually, it's pretty cool. And then some Miles figures. There's some stunning Miles figures, predominantly from the computer game and the Spider-Verse. I don't think there's a comic version out yet, other than that horrific one in the middle there. No idea why they went with that. This is I think was he in one issue or one cover?
which one?
The one in the center.
Is it?
Oh, that's 2020.
How is it?
Is it?
It's licensed from the game, but it's a comic book. Yeah. It's one issue comic book suit, I think.
Yeah, it's no, not for
me. It looks cool in the game, like the way the LED on the helmet and everything.
Yeah, I mean it's a cool figure if that's your kind of thing. But if I was buying a Miles, that's not the Miles I would be buying.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's like this is going to be their only one.
Ben, you've got a Miles, haven't you?
I have indeed.
And James has got the Bodega one or something. Is that the one with the cat?
Yeah, so it's basically the one on the left there, just with a hoodie on them instead. I think there's a few extra accessories.
Yeah. Andy's just asking there, is the one on the right as good as it looks? Tempted with this one.
100%.
Yeah. Is that the one you've got, Ben?
Yeah, best figure of 2022. Like a lot. And it's not just me saying that, like a lot of 1/6 scale collectors who have hundreds of figures celebrate that release. Like it's yeah, and honestly it's like getting 3 figures in one with the amount of kind of swap out options and accessories, and it was quite overwhelming if anything when I first opened it up, because there was just so much you can do with it, yeah.
Oh, I've not got it. I've not got a Miles figure. I might have to get myself a one. Yeah, okay. Luke, show and tell section.
I'll have one by the end of the show.
You wanted to talk a little bit about this massive array of figures.
Yeah, so these are my I say this isn't all of my Marvel Legends. This is primarily my Spider-Man cabinets. So you guys know I love Spider-Man, and so it translates from the comic books to action figure form. And yeah, over the years, Marvel Legends have certainly given us an array to choose from. So I opted to have these displayed within my media room / man cave, and I have pretty much every release of a Spider-Man figure that they have done, whether it's here in this shot or whether it's in a box waiting to go on display somewhere else. That being said, however, I do think I'm nearing the end, because when I actually work out the number of characters and who's missing, I think it's only going to be like Michael Morbius animated show version and the Chameleon. And I think once I've got those 2 characters, I think I'm pretty much done with that collection. I don't see me going out and buying any new ones to replace them. I think they all look superb. I think they've hit the nail on the head with them.
Yeah, they are very, very nice figures. I didn't realize you had them in a cabinet, to be honest. I can't remember seeing that before, but that looks a stunning setup.
It's the posability. Nice. It's a shame I didn't take more close-up pictures. One of the problems that you guys are saying with the larger scale figures and not being able to pose them, you can get these down into those positions. You can get them there. Yes, okay, I might have to use a stand here or there just to support them. Yeah. But they sit in that glass cabinet with my kids banging doors in the other room and everything, and they don't fall over. They sit quite nicely.
I'm liking the Galactus at the bottom. I do fancy a Galactus, I have to say.
Yeah, so when everyone was buying the big HasLabs Galactus, I took that as the opportunity to pounce on this old Toy Biz one. This was the very first Builder figure that Toy Biz had done, and it's one that was on my wish list for a really long time, but I wasn't going to pay those prices. So as people were putting their HasLab orders in, a few of these appeared on the secondhand market dirt cheap, and I nabbed one straight away.
I hear what you're saying, but that HasLab Galactus is phenomenal. It's
absolutely
huge. Well.
Absolutely. But if I had bought that, or if I had bought the Proton Pack, or if I'd bought anything else that they have released that I have loved the minute I saw them, I wouldn't have got my Battle Cat.
Yeah. Noran's asking, is that a Hammerhead?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So I basically picked out some different types of scenes. So in the top right there, I've got the Sinister Six. And then to the left hand side, it's just an array of Spider-Man animated show villains. Then I've got the Goblins. Then I've got the Kingpin and like his cronies. So we've got like all of his henchmen, whether it be the Shocker, whether it be Hammerhead, etc. Joe Fixit's in there. Moving down, I've got my Spider-Verse shelf, which is far too full now, even though there are many other Spider-themed characters that I could have in there. Then I've kind of got an Avengers shelf, but also with a Spider-Man. And then down at the bottom, I've got the Fantastic Four with Galactus, which isn't Spider-Man related. But then I've got my symbiote shelf, which unfortunately you can't see. It's all in shadow, but that's got Null and all the symbiote characters.
Very cool. Very cool. Nice setup, Luke. I like that.
Thank you.
Ben, this looks stunning.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to get them out for you. I'm sorry. So here they are.
I've seen them plenty of times, Ben.
Yeah.
Andy figures.
This is my little Spider-Verse setup. Got Miles there with the computer game classic suit Spidey like fits absolutely perfectly with the aesthetic of like the Spider-Verse films. So really happy I picked him up. And then of course you get Gwen from the film, who comes with a Brucey bonus of Peter Porker there. So yeah, I bought the mini Amazing Fantasy and got that in Miles's hand. So yeah, this is awesome.
Very
I'm
cool.
very nervous though, because Hot Toys have announced as part of their licensing announcement that they have got Across the Spider-Verse figures coming. So I'm very nervous, because if they release like a Spidey 2099 or a Spider-Punk or a Scarlet Spidey or something from that film, or even Jessica Drew, they might have to come home. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
But that would look very cool as a setup, wouldn't it? If you could get some more of those figures in there. That would look amazing.
It would look very cool, Peter.
But then again, we already have from the video game like versions of those figures, you know, like 2099 and Spider-Man.
But the thing is, they look quite different in the Spider-Verse films now. Like we've already obviously seen the designs. Like Spider-Punk's got like a drip effect, and is and they're all kind of like lanky as well. Like they're a bit more kind of lanky and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see.
I think the biggest problem with that is like what I was saying with my Spider-Verse shelf with the 6-inch figures, is that there's so many options. You know, you can't possibly buy them all, even in the 6-inch line, let alone in the 1/6 scale. When you're talking about the Spider-Verse, there's hundreds.
Peter's like, watch me.
Yeah, that felt like a challenge, Luke, to be honest. Ben, did you have anything else you wanted to show?
So yeah, just as many of you know, I've sold on my comic book collection. I no longer kind of collect comics actively. I just read them online. But the ones that I did keep were the ones that are signed or special to me or whatever it may be. So a couple of signed Spidey books. Got Sarah Pichelli on Spider-Man 1. Got a gorgeous kind of Adi Granoff cover here of Mary Jane. And then we got Spidey 700, the anniversary one with Dan Slott's signature.
I love that cover.
So that's pretty special. And very randomly, even though I'm being a hypocrite because I said I don't buy comics anymore, but it was like £1 when I was at Thought Bubble with Peter, and I was like, I'm just going to pick it out because I just like to stare at this cover. Like I just like to stare at it. So yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much my show and tell. And then,
very cool.
You know, display my little cosplay in the back there.
Yeah, very nice. James, have you got something to show with?
Yeah, I didn't really know where to start, to be honest. Like, if you look just even at my display, like I have a Spider-Man poster, kind of signed by a few actors from the game. My 2 Hot Toys.
Yeah.
That's a Adi Granoff signed picture I took in like photo mode in the game. Picture of the Velocity suit that he designed, and I got him to sign that at a Comic-Con. But yeah, I have a few things. So like, I at one point I was planning on collecting every bit of merchandise from the video game, and I managed to for a while until they started putting out different Hot Toys, and just kind of gave up then. But I have a few. I have like a variant cover of Spider-Geddon.
Oh, I like that
cover swipe, and that's signed by Yuri Lowenthal, who voices him in the game. That's a signed copy of the game as well.
Oh, very cool.
and another signed Funko Pop as well. The maskless one, and then I have a couple of the Marvel Legends as well. Still boxed.
Oh yeah, nice.
So that's just like a very small sliver of my kind of Spidey game merch. And then like even like others, like when I take notes, the rare time I do is the Spider-Man mug. I drink out the Spider-Man mug every morning, you know.
Very
On occasion,
cool.
then. Yeah.
Very cool. I like that. GP, what you got?
Yeah, besides the comics, I haven't really got that much Spider-Man stuff. But I did get this. This is from Diamond Select, and it's the Black Cat one.
Oh yeah, yeah, black.
Yeah, but you do get Spidey peeking through the window there. Everything's just fell off it. It's fine. Turn on the Spidey.
That's
Plunk to the wall.
Spider-Man, Pete and Tom on
Love
Black
that.
Cat.
Yeah.
That's
Very
it.
See
cool.
the-
That Diamond
what's
Select, did
happening
you
there?
say? Yeah?
Pardon?
Very good. Diamond Select, did you say?
Yeah, Diamond Select. And there's Spider-Man on the floor now. It's all gone shit.
Very cool. Right, I've just got a couple of things to show. One comic, because we didn't mention it, or we're not going to mention it in Goodreads, but I wanted to talk about it. This is one of my favorite issues. This is Amazing Spider-Man 36 with just the pure black cover. This is obviously the one regarding the World Trade Center. Stunning story. Really like that. James, you mentioned it earlier. I've got Spider-Man behind us there from Hot Toys, but this is Mysterio.
It's very cool.
Really like this figure more than I was expecting to like it because of the light up head feature. You can't really see it on camera, but there's like a smoke effect inside.
It literally just looks like a light.
Yeah, just glowing, isn't it? But he's absolutely stunning. His cape is great. So
You get a
can see
Jake
the kind of-
Gyllenhaal head sculpt with that as well.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So yeah, you can see the cloud effect inside him. His cape and his costume have got paintwork on it. So if you shine a black light on it, it shows up kind of artwork and designs on it. So yeah,
Such
very
a great
cool
figure.
figure.
That so
I
good.
like that one a lot. It's, like I say, I like it much more than I expected to like
God
it.
damn it, Peter.
Yeah, looks very cool. Very cool. Just to say, we've got TM Nerdy joined us. So welcome, TM. Thank you very much for joining, bud. Okay, guys. So moving on to a few story recommendations. So we're going to just quickly canter through a few recommendations for people to go and have a look at. It's worth saying that there might be some spoilers in this. So pop your fingers in your ears if you don't want to know a little bit about the spoilers. We're not going to go into War and Peace on these. We're just going to touch on them briefly and say why we want to recommend them because they're a good story. So, Ben, before we get into that, you sent us this little image.
Yeah, I just I've obviously showed Dan Slott's signature, and I've met him twice now. I met him dressed as J. Jonah once, and he absolutely loved it. And I was like doing the voice for him and shit. It was great. He's just like he's just a really good human being, and such an incredible writer as well. Like the bravery it took from him to kind of write something that I'm going to kind of touch on is was amazing, really. Yeah, I think he's revolutionized the character a couple of times. So yeah,
I read something. I can't remember if I read it or if I saw it on a YouTuber's video saying that he's an incredibly nice guy, but he's a nightmare when you go to get stuff signed because he'll talk for hours with every single person about Spider-Man because he's a proper creator in that he loves the character and he loves what he does. And was that your experience?
Oh yeah, like chewed my ear off, and I chewed his ear off back. This convention was fantastic though because it was a really sort of quiet London. It was like the winter version of Comic-Con sort of thing, so it was quite quiet. And Chris Claremont was here as well, and there was like there wasn't really a big queue for them. And yeah, like I stood and chatted with each guy for like 10 minutes. Like Chris Claremont was like selling New Mutants to me for like 10 minutes. It was amazing. Yeah, great day.
Great stuff. Good stuff. Okay, just quickly canter through some of my picks. I've picked Amazing Spider-Man 248, The Kid Who Collected Spider-Man. You guys read this one?
Yeah, it's deep.
Oh God, this kills me. Absolutely kills me every time. So I read this first. I think it was in a reprint in one of the UK format books. I didn't read it in American Standard Comic. And I read it when I was young. And it's a proper gut punch. So for those of you that, like I say, spoilers ahead, for those of you that haven't read it, basically Spider-Man hears about this kid who adores him, and he swings through the kid's window, and they sit and have a chat, and he says hello, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And then he's just about to leave, the kid says to him, can you tell us who you are? And they have this very heartfelt retelling of Spider-Man's life, basically, over the course of the issue. And then he takes his mask off and tells him that he's Peter Parker, and it's just really touching. And then when he swings out, Spider-Man stops on the wall next to the kid's house, and it turns out it's not a house, it's a hospital, it's a leukemia ward, and the kid's got like a week left to live. And it's just a
that sounds really similar to the spider bite thing.
Yeah, so they've gone back and done it a few times. There's 3 comic books that are based on a similar.
I didn't realize it was
because I was thinking, isn't there one where it's like he's getting sexually abused or something? The kid, there's another one like similar.
There's a few of them, yeah. So they've done a lot of like child protection issues of Spider-Man over the years as well. And a really weird story as well, where you find out that Spider-Man was abused when he was younger.
Yeah,
yes, that one. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Story.
Yeah.
Not by Uncle Ben.
No.
No, it's not me. So this is a superb story, well worth reading. It is a good one. This one, Amazing Spider-Man Back in Black. I can't remember the issue number. Is it 542? I just loved it. Absolutely. So I don't know if you guys have read this. This is basically following on from Peter telling the world who he is in Civil War, and then Kingpin basically tries to assassinate him and misshoots. So the assassin misshoots and shoots Aunt May instead. And then over the course of the issue, Spider-Man finds out it was Kingpin, who's in jail at the time. So he goes to have a fight with Kingpin, and it's just brutal. It's an amazing battle. Spider-Man properly cutting loose. There's a couple of scenes where Kingpin's shirt's off and Spider-Man's literally, because he takes his shirt and his mask off as well, but he's literally sticking to his skin and pulling him all over the place. It just looks amazing. And he literally beats the shit out of Kingpin. He could kill him, but he says he's done worse. He's humiliated him because all the prison are watching, basically. Again, really good story. And then finally for me, Spider-Man's Tangled Web. I would say read the entire series of that because there are some amazing issues. Ben, there are a couple of amazing Rhino issues in there which are well worth reading. There's a stunning Kingpin issue where it follows the kind of the life, as it were, of one of Kingpin's hired thugs, and about how the thug basically cocks up. So Kingpin sets the order to kill his entire family. But the main 2 stories that I really like are issues 1 and 2, which introduces the concept of the 1,000. So basically, when Spider-Man was bitten by the radioactive spider, one of the class idiots, a big fat lad, sees the spider bite him, puts 2 and 2 together that turned him into Spider-Man. So goes back to the lab, finds the dead spider, and then eats it, thinking it'll give him powers. And what it does is it basically hatches into thousands and thousands of spiders which inhabit his body and then basically move from host to host. So it's just thousands of spiders inside of basically flesh suit.
Swarm? Is that the character's name?
No, that's it. That's Nazi Bees.
That's the Bees one, yeah.
Yeah. But no, this one's really cool. And it's a very dark and very creepy couple of issues. So again, Spider-Man's Tangled Web, I think it was only 12 issues in total or something. It's well worth picking up and trade if you can get it, because it's some quite adult, dark stories, but well worth a read. Okay, so moving on. James.
Yep. So Superior. I know that a few of us wanted to pick Superior Spider-Man.
Yep, Ben's got Superior as well in a bit. Yeah.
Just a wonderful like exploration of kind of what it means to be Spider-Man, and the fact that like Doc Ock doesn't really understand that. I kind of learns over time, how difficult it can be. Some really great kind of moments in it, like the Avengers being a bit suspicious when Spider-Man's kind of cutting loose. And people don't know, obviously, is the one where Doc Ock takes over Spider-Man's mind, but it's really a bold story, because this is the kind of story you get for one issue, and to do it over 32, 34 issues is kind of insane, but it allows them to go a lot more in depth. So yeah, really fantastic one. Like, especially seeing like there's a bit where, if I remember right, Scorpion gets his jaw like punched off, literally, like just completely severed. So like reminding you that Spider-Man is like insanely powerful. Like, what if somebody's willing to kind of just let loose took over. So yeah, really great one. Spider-Man Noir, like I said, my favorite kind of alternate version of Spider-Man. It's really interesting kind of mystery story in the first kind of run, and then the second one deals with the Noir version of Doc Ock, which I really loved as well. So the Noir collection, I think, is the first 2 volumes. They're just 4 issues each, so 8 issues total, so it's not too long. And then there's, I think, another one of 4 issues that I haven't read yet, but I want to get on that. But yeah, great kind of universe to dive into. And then, yeah, I love my crossover ones. So Spider-Verse is, I think, a modern classic in Spider-Man lore that anyone should kind of read.
Yeah, very cool. I've not read any Spider-Man Noir. I'll have to try and pick that up. I've read the others, but I've not read Spider-Man Noir. But Spider-Verse is stunning. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Thank you very much, James. Next, Luke.
Yeah, so being a fan of Spider-Man and a collector of Amazing Spider-Man, it seemed only fit that I put some of my favorite stories from that particular run. The night Gwen Stacy died. I mean, this is such a defining moment for the character, one that still resonates even today with stories of Spider-Man. I've always been Team Gwen when it comes to the love interests of Peter Parker. Don't really know why. There's nothing wrong with the other characters. I know a lot of people love Black Cat and MJ, and I do too. But there's something special about Gwen. The fact that she was his first true love, and the horrible things that occurred within this story. It is only a 2-parter. The next issue after this, 122, is actually my favorite Spider-Man comic book cover of all time. Like, I think it is absolutely superb. And I've actually got that painted on canvas that an American friend of mine actually sent over.
Is that the one where he's holding Gwen's body?
He's holding Gwen's body and he's calling out to the Goblin, saying that he's going to kill him. Absolutely superb cover. This is kind of as well where the Silver Age kind of ended. If you're basing it on time wise, and around this time, many people say that we were kind of entering off into the Bronze Age by this point. So again, it's a book that ticks a lot of boxes, and it's a yellow cover. Who doesn't like a yellow comic book cover?
Yeah,
just me. Next up, I have Kraven's Last Hunt. Probably the best Spider-Man story I have ever read. I'm a big fan of Superior Spider-Man, which tackles a very similar idea of a villain, taking over the body and mind of the spider. And this is exactly what Kraven does. Kraven truly believes that if he can hunt and defeat Spider-Man and wear his suit, he can be as powerful, he can be the best. And the ending to this story is just so beautifully tragic. And I think he should have stayed dead. I love Kraven. He's a fantastic character, but I think this was the perfect send-off for his character, and he should have remained dead. But being comic books, it is what it is. They're always going to bring them back.
I never noticed he's wearing a thong on that cover.
I was going to say it's quite homoerotic cover.
Yeah.
The rain dripping off his thighs.
Well, yeah, and then obviously on the previous one, you got Spider-Man's arse shot as well. Probably not the best.
Yeah.
So that's the Amazing Spider-Man out of the way. That's very much the continuity of Spider-Man. But then the third choice that I wanted to bring up was Spider-Man Life Story, which I was really blown away when I picked these up. This is basically Spider-Man as if he was aging in real time. So we start off in the 60s, where obviously he would be bitten by the spider. And basically it's all the key Spider-Man story arcs that we know and love, slightly tweaked for the period of time that they would have been, and each book goes by decade. So there was 6 issues spanning over 10 years each, and they would tell us what was going on with those characters as they grew older. So by the end, by issue number 6, we had a 60, 70 odd year old Peter Parker. And yeah, I don't really want to give too much else away about that. I want people to go out and read it because I do think it's something special.
So you recommended this one to me, Luke, and I picked it up when we were in London, I think, and I have to say it's an amazing story. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. Very good pick. Very good pick. Okay, Ben, I think you're up next.
Yeah, so I went for Superior Spider-Man as well. Just as I was alluding to earlier, just an incredibly kind of brave decision. The way that they've doubled down on it as well, it was like his conscience had gone or whatever. Like they did that whole spirit thing, and then even that was like squashed. I love that. I honestly, I know James said that it went for quite a long time, but like I could have done another year of this. Like I just found it so interesting, and so interesting to see Doc Ock kind of have morality kind of forced upon him, and how someone who's bad would react to that, having those kind of new emotions and stuff. Just really compelling. And the artwork was just like, I know they switched it up a couple of times. There was a lot of really fantastic Humberto Ramos artwork here, and yeah, just really good shit.
And can I just say, I love that costume as well. I love the black. I love the eyes, the nails. Yeah,
I like the arms, the tendrils.
Yeah, the tentacles that came out. And didn't he have little spider bots as well? Like,
yeah. That was like his whole like to get out of the responsibility thing. It's like these can patrol when I'm like.
I loved his relationship as well with what's her face,
Anna.
Yeah, that was just lovely, and dead awkward when Peter came back. But but
it is a great one.
Spider-Man No More was my next pick. Spider-Man 50 was, of course, the debut of my boy, the Kingpin. And really, this kind of set the precedence for that ongoing theme of Peter Parker kind of struggling to decide if it's worth it, if it's all worth it, and that kind of reoccurring theme of like great power, great responsibility. Like he relearns that all the time. He's constantly relearning that and constantly kind of battling that. And this was kind of the first time that story was told. So I know that I used to go on Luke's channel, and we were kind of working our way through those sort of initial issues of Spidey, and as incredible as Ditko was, when John Romita Senior came in, I think the quality really kind of went up a notch in terms of the way that Spidey was drawn. And just look at this bloody panel. It's just sensational. The last thing here is Spider Island. This is a gorgeous cover from Humberto Ramos. Humberto Ramos draws Mary Jane how she used to be drawn, with like a strong jawline and a little bum chin. Drives me wild. But she of course, is kind of a big part of the storyline. And she, along with many New Yorkers, develop powers. And there's a great kind of return story arc for the Jackal, and kind of ties back in with some of the old stuff there. And just again, Dan Slott just being ballsy as hell with his choices, and Humberto Ramos kind of, just doing his thing. He's probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite artist in comics. So love to see it.
I hate them. Great story, Ben. But I hate you. I just don't know.
You don't like my other favorite, Chris Picallo, either, do you?
No.
I mean, you're wrong, but it's fine.
All about many things. GP, you've gone for some classics here.
Yeah, the Return of the Sinister Six, or the day some old bloke died. Peter Ramade suffered another death in the family unit. There's a good story arc with Sandman in this. Some great Eric Larson art. Just a really good read. And then coming home, that's when we get introduced to the Spider Totems. And Marlon, who goes after these to feed. It's a fast-paced book, and it's not really many issues either. But it's a good read as well. And then obviously Birth of Venom. If you pick up this trade paperback, which I don't have because I got the the Eagle Moss books. Yeah, you don't get as many issues in that as you do in the normal trade paperback. But talk about Farland on art. Everybody knows the story.
You can't go wrong with it, can you? Three very strong picks there, Pete. And I really enjoyed, I get his name wrong, Stradansky's run on Spider-Man up to a point. I didn't like the whole bringing back the Gwen Stacy's kids and things like that. That was a bit weird.
Oh, the Norman Osborn affair.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I hated that. Yeah,
that
that's
was all
like,
a bit odd.
yeah.
I can
His
I can
original
see
run was very good.
I can see the character of Morlan coming into the Sony Spider-Verse movies. You know, if you're going to do,
I don't think so.
A spot and not him. Like I think that's it now.
Well, I think
Spot's
it might be a final credit scene. I think it's coming. I think
think
if they're going to show us all these,
I think.
Sorry, Luke. Go ahead, James.
There's a lot of I thinks going on.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do like a proper Spider-Verse live action movie, but they're going to swap Morlan for No. They'll have No as the big bad.
I
think it's a shame with Morlan because he started off in this original run here that Pete's picked as a really strong kind of villain for Spider-Man. And then as the Spider-Verse stuff went on and you got more of his family members, he seemed to just get weaker and just stupider. It really diminished the character.
When he come into this, he really kicked Spider-Man's ass in this.
And can I also just point out as well, in this same story arc, the realization of Aunt May discovering that Peter was Spider-Man is one of the best books that I've ever read. It was so beautifully done, and it's such a shame that through retconning over the years, all of this just got undone and messed about.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mean, obviously I will have, but I don't know if I ever really clicked to the fact about all the different animal totems around him. It wasn't until this series kind of spelled it out and said, have you not realized, you've got rhinos, you've got lizards, you've got, all these different animal-based creatures attracted to you. And I thought, well, actually, that's a good point. Good picks, everybody, guys. Well done. Just going to quickly jump to the chat. We've got a few suggestions, people. From Norrin, he's saying Death of Gwen Stacy, Craven's Last Hunt. Yeah, I think that's a popular one. Maximum Carnage. Wow, it's a long time since I've read Maximum Carnage. Andy, Spider-Man's Life Story. Yeah, completely agree. Superb book. Ian's What If Spidey was in the Fantastic Four. Yeah, I love those. I think they're some of my favorite runs of books, the What If stories. I like seeing characters taken out of the kind of the usual.
I loved when he was the Fantastic Four with Ghost Rider and
Hulk. Was it great? The Grey Hulk must fix it and all the rest of it. Yeah.
The thing is as time goes on, all these What If stories are becoming canon.
Yeah,
they're bringing them in.
I mean, I thoroughly enjoy Exiles as well. That's a great series. Superb. We've got Chris saying, got to be Miles' first proper run as Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah, superb. Really, really good. We've got people commenting saying we need to get a bit of order on this because we're all jumping in. Efren's back just to say that, he knows. Efren's without your moral guidance. It's all going to pot. Okay, guys. So before we just start to round up some superb suggestions there, thank you very much for all of your suggestions and your involvement. It was really interesting to kind of unpick Spider-Man a little bit. Moving on to what we've got next coming up on this channel. Next week, really excited because we have got our Art Attack show, and I am absolutely ecstatic to say we're going to be joined by Alex Cormack, one of my favorite artists, huge guy in terms of some of the stuff he's putting out. He's got some amazing books out at the moment. He think he might win. Yeah. He did Save Sorrow's Road of Bones. He does Sync. He obviously did Crimson Cage. And we're going to do a horror special. So I'm sure we're going to have some fun with Alex. So over the moon to have Alex joining us. So that's next Monday. The kind of slate for March, we've got Let's Talk Toys the week after. We've got top 3 Batman villains on the 20th of March. And then next spotlight we'll be doing at the request of Mr. Keegan is going to be Punisher. So looking at all things Punisher. So that'll be a fun one because I think there's some real good stories and stuff there to get involved with. So that's all the stuff happening on this channel. Videos out this week. I've got 2. I've got X-Men Prop Visor, which, yes, I bought about 8 months ago. But there we go. So we'll be doing a quick video on that. And I've got myself and Efren doing our top 5 commissions part 2. That will be out, I think, on Sunday. So looking forward to getting that one out. Just to mention UK community, we've got some great content, live shows coming out from these guys. We've got This Week in Metropolis tomorrow night from 9. We've got the Nerd Herd on Wednesday. Can't remember what book they're looking at this week, but make sure to check that out. We've got the Killer Comic Show on Thursday night, where they look at some recent reviews. They do topic table. They do a bit of a toy overview as well. All kinds of good stuff. And then we've got Gray doing his Cover Slingers on Saturday, which is always a fun show. So check those guys out. Ben, tell them about these.
Yeah, so don't worry, guys. We're halfway there now. There's only half of these videos left. It's my daily Star Wars Joker day. So if you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Once a day, I will grace you with a terrible dad joke, Star Wars themed, dressed like this, looking like a bellend. I get so much abuse on these videos, by the way. I don't think I've had so much abuse on YouTube to date. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people who are very upset by these.
I mean, I don't know why they would be upset. I'm going to be honest with you, Ben, and this may come as a massive shock to you. The jokes are pretty dire. I mean,
all press is good
fine.
press, though. You know?
But that's the
People
point.
are paying
That's
attention.
the point. You know, I mean, I love them. I find it kind of
give me a little chuckle.
Yeah, little chuckle way. It's like almost a dad joke, isn't it? Where you
If
go,
I can make one person have a little chuckle, then that's all worth it.
Well, there you go, Ben.
good stuff, mate. Good stuff. And some subs along the way as well is nice. So yeah, good
It
stuff.
helps.
Luke.
Yeah, so this is my latest YouTube video for long form content, because I've been dabbling with shorts every now and then as well. And this is the risk of toy collecting and the gamble that we take when we purchase anything, whether it be a toy line or a comic book run. What happens when that gets cancelled, and what does it mean moving forward?
Good stuff. Good one. And then this.
And then, yeah, over on Go Collect, once a week, I do an article. And this week, I am looking at first appearances and how they aren't always equal. And we're looking at the comic book of The Last of Us, first print. So if you get a chance, head on over
pull an
there.
Efren.
There you go.
Where it is.
Yay. So,
I read
yeah,
that one.
if you've got some time, head on over to Go Collect and give that a read.
Good stuff. Good stuff. GP, just before we touch on this, have you got anything coming up on your channel?
Yeah, exactly. Forgetting to send you slides. So, yeah.
Fun stuff.
I know. Friday, 3 p.m. I always put out a small review. This week's going to be Daredevil Volume 1 from the mighty Marvel Masterworks. One of them. I've just put one out for Philadelphia Volume 1.
Oh,
that's
great
up now. So, yeah. It's only about 2 to 3 minutes long. So if you've got time.
Good stuff. Excellent. Thank you very much. And James, tell about this.
Wednesday at 8 p.m. we'll be back to talk about episode 7 of The Last of Us. And this is one a lot of fans of the games are really anticipating, and I think it's absolutely nailed it. So excited to see your thoughts on it.
I'm going to watch that when we're finished here tonight. So looking forward to that. Really enjoying that series. So yeah, great. So that's this Wednesday. Please make sure you join for that. Thank you very much to everybody that's been in the chat with me. Do appreciate you stopping by, and as ever, thank you very much to my friends on YouTube who've popped along to help out with this. I really do appreciate it and enjoy spending time with you gents. So thank you very much, and we shall see you all next week for what should be a very interesting Art Attack. I'm looking forward to that one. Okay guys, thank you very much, and we'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye.